basically a place which contains electronic musical instruments from the very earliest instruments all the way up to new modular current electronic musical synthesizers.
Robin had a collection of these old instruments himself, and then we happened upon a couple other people that had these really big collections, and so sort of a combination of this idea of starting an independent place for people to have access to it and for it to be taught and for people to learn a lot more about it, along with this huge collection of instruments sort of came together at the same time.
So one of the most amazing instruments that we have in the collection and that is currently available to our members is this Fairlight CMI. So it's called the Computer Music Instrument, but it was designed by a company in Canberra in the late 70s. And it's basically the first digital sampler. The guys who were designing it were trying to make the perfect synthesizer, which is an instrument that could perfectly recreate an instrumental sound. And what they realized was the best way to do that was to record a real instrument and play that. And to them, that was kind of not a failure, but a compromise. But what they did was they totally revolutionized the way that people worked with music after that.
So the place works in sort of like a bit of like a gym, in that you pay an annual membership and that then gets you access to the studio.
It's not a recording studio in the traditional sense, it's much more like a workshop.
And people can not only just work on their own thing, but they can also interact with other people. So it's as much of a place of like giving people access to these machines as it is giving people access to each other.
When electronic music sort of started in the 50s and 60s, there was this scare campaign really that it was going to completely dehumanize music. But then what's interesting now is that analog synthesis is seen as bringing the human back, because we went so far down that digital path in the 90s and so much music is now being made with a computer mouse.
The early 1970s is where most of these instruments begin. So they've only really been around for 40 odd years, but already there's a sort of culture out there that says, oh, these machines should be put in perspex and put behind glass and not used and not touched. They still make amazing sound, they're still completely inspirational, they're still completely relevant, but it's the actual subjective experience of sitting down in front of the machine, just having to start from scratch and find your own way through them.
If you've started the voyage with a sine wave and you've patched your sound, the fact that you've started that sound there and you've got to a certain place is so much different to having hit a drop-down preset menu and picked Alien Fuzz. There's something empowering about that. Well, for a start, you now understand how Alien Fuzz works.
Yeah, but also you treasure it, like you put it in a different place in your track, or you feel very differently about it because you've made it yourself, you know, it's your sound. We thought we'd open it for the first 3 years in what we call like an incubation mode. The studio is one part of that plan. The school, which is the thing that we're starting this year. Then the third part of it is to actually put on gigs and concerts and to release records. And we've sort of begun on that a little bit already. And then finally, in the longer term, actually we've got a workshop out the back of the studio here where we repair and maintain all the synthesizers. So we want to open that up to the public. So that means people can come and learn how to like maintain and repair their own gear, or to build their own machines from scratch, or to find old synths and find new ways of working with them or circuit bending them. So we have like quite a long-term strategy in terms of how we see the organisation growing over the next few years.